Okay, so after hearing myself talk about the mental hospital in one of the last talks about the wheelchair, I thought of another experience that I would like to elaborate on since Adderall did get brought up. So I went through. Okay, now if I bring up the Colorado rape and me moving back home, and like I said, that I had alcohol and all these other factors involved in what I was doing. After I moved back home from Dallas Allen area, um, I decided to go back to school after I went to do this thing called Ames testing, which was supposed to tell you about your aptitudes. And so I decided that that what I wanted to do was something like career counseling, because I enjoyed that testing element of it to find your natural strengths and weaknesses to, and also I like to be motivational because it makes me feel good. So it's that was the career that I wanted for myself, sort of like a life coach, career counseling person, and that's what I focused on doing. So I went and, um, you know, when I was at Colorado, uh, my mammy, which is my dad's mother, had died, and I had been given uh, somewhere around $13,000, I think. And I was trying to figure out what I would do with the money, and I decided that I wanted to go back to school because I wanted a career. And so I went to ACU and had an interview, and um, they told me that I was accepted, but I had to do one semester of undergrad psychology courses before I could get into the master's degree program. And so I did that. And when I was doing that, I had gone to the doctor, and he had given me um, Provigil because I was having um, issues with being tired. And that Provigil really worked well for me. I was able to study. Um, Before that, I would fall asleep a lot of times when I was trying to study and read books, and I was very disorganized. And that experience of getting on Provigil, I felt like changed my whole brain chemistry and my whole life. And then I I made like straight A's that semester, and then they told me that I couldn't get Provigil anymore, and if I wanted to try and keep it, somebody suggested I try and find generic stuff from Mexico and all this stuff. And then um, I went to the doctor and asked for a sleep study because I wanted to get Adderall, and I had studied what narcolepsy was, and I knew, well, I did have sleep issues with um, with the way that I was experiencing um, being in my body, but I to say that I had narcolepsy, probably not. But so when I had that sleep study, I drank some wine so that I could sleep more. I don't remember exactly what I did. I drank some wine so that it would affect the sleep study in some way so that I could get the Adderall. I don't, it's, there, I had some plan to it about how I disrupted my sleep so that the test would get the results I wanted. And, and the Adderall was not the same as Provigil. It was much stronger, and I got way more uh, hyper focused and way too into the details of things. Where that I was moving at a snail's pace, getting stuck into tiny details of things, and also it made me, if I drank caffeine with it, it made me very irritable and angry. And then I lost a lot of weight also taking that. And then, of course, I hadn't quit drinking alcohol yet. But, as far as I'm concerned, to say that that was totally a terrible decision for me to go through that, I have my own opinion about it because I still think that it rewired my brain chemistry in some way where I was able to think much better even after I got pulled off of it. But I wouldn't ever recommend putting anybody on that because it's way too strong. However, when and you have to take into the effect the factors that I went through, experiences of rape and alcohol and um, mood issues, and I felt like I had nobody who had any sympathy for me whatsoever about anything that I experienced. And so I was stuck in this cycle, repeating similar events, trying to get somebody to care about me. That was my life. And trying to grovel and, 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 kind of infantile behavior with my parents to, to feel that pain that I carried back from when I was 15 years old and had that experience of telling my mother what happened to me and then feeling like she didn't care, and then my father wouldn't talk about it with me. He was angry, and it was something that I had to deal with myself. And I had in being here at my house, I had to go back and go over all of those things. But anyway, so when I think about the first time I went to the mental institution, I received a phone call from my doctor, who was also one of my university professors, and he said that my brother had left a long message on his answering machine telling him to stop prescribing me Adderall, and um, that and that he had made some sort of petition or something with signatures all over it. And at that time, I was extremely angry because I was wanting to do well in school, and I don't exactly remember if the experience with Roxy dying was before or after that. But that was also something that I didn't get over very well, and all kinds of chaos went on with that school experience, and I ended up transferring over to Hardin Simmons to finish. And so when that happened, when I got that phone call, I was extremely angry about me trying to get my life together and be productive, and my brother not even saying anything to my face. I didn't know if he had involved my mother in it or what had happened, but when I was living in a duplex next to my grandmother, and my mother was sitting outside smoking cigarettes and drinking vodka, and um, I had been on my side painting, and I think before that my grandmother stirred up something, and they took all of my paint away from me and threw it in the trash can, and then I had to go out to the trash can and get it all back out, and then I was infuriated, and I just took a can of paint and dumped it over my mom's head. And it was like I couldn't tolerate that. Like, I know that I didn't do the right thing with what I did, but I didn't think that they were doing the right thing either. Like, I know that I have learned that you can't expect good results if you're doing the same things that the people that you are with are doing. But still, I didn't I didn't think it was fair to see what I was getting in trouble for right in front of my face of what they were doing. Now, it might not necessarily have been the same type of medicine that I got on, but I lost it that day. I lost it. And then, so after I did that, poured that can of paint on her head, the cops were called on me, and I tried to go get in the shower and lock the door, and then the cop pulled me out of the shower naked, and I had to put on my clothes, and I got taken to the mental institution um, with nothing, basically. And so they said that you have 72 hours before, or the cop said she has to be here at least for 72 hours. And so I sat there for 3 days being like, okay, I'm going to wait 72 hours and then I'm going to escape. And that's what I did. And so, you know, they ended up giving me back Adderall, I think, for a little while. And then that was not an option anymore. And then those other antipsychotics were given to me. And it was a big mess. It was a big mess. Okay. And so, what I would like to say about my brother and how I feel so heartbroken about that experience is he never, ever, ever, ever has ever said a word to my face. He never spoke up to me about um, being concerned about my drinking or anything else, or the fact that I went through those rape experiences, or anything about my safety or well being. Has never mentioned one word, and then he would do that behind my back. That's the thing about it that upsets me. Now I know that that was a long time ago and it's over with, but I do need to put that out on the table. That, like, I've already said that I can't ever be in a relationship with my brother. I don't ever want to be, and that's what the wreckage has caused. And when you feel like somebody does not care about your well being, you know, that's what it is. If you cared about somebody's well being, you would speak to them face to face, and you would act like you actually cared to have them in your life. And you don't do things like that. You don't go back behind their back with petitions. Okay, like I don't think that being on Adderall was anything in comparison to what alcohol did to me, and that was that. Now I know that that's the truth. I should not have done that, but I'm not the only one who should have had to go through consequences of that, all that mess that happened. Okay, you can't just say that that some people can get away with things and other people cannot. Now, of course, we know nobody got away with anything now. That it wasn't just one person, but having to be separated from the group, you have that wake up call of your own consequences of being involved in that. And that's what I said with my interpretation of not being able to understand what it meant for Jesus to carry the sins of the world that he was clean from. It's that story doesn't make sense to me, and the only thing that I can compare it to is that whatever is going on in your house and the things that you've been exposed to before you've learned the the difference between right and wrong, those sins are not yours. You're sort of innocent from them, but you still have to, you know, stop doing them so that you don't pay those forward or be the reason why other people have to suffer because of what you're doing. But love is a huge thing when it comes to all of that. Now that you're not smart when you're born. You're not smart. And you think that your parents and your guidance people are supposed to tell you about these things, and you find out that it was yourself that has to be smart enough to make better choices. And it's still that way today, and no matter what you decide to do, you you're going to find out if it was a good decision after you've done it with everything. And all decisions are not completely black and white. They're not. There's some things that you can look at and say that was not. You can say, like, with your own self-evaluation, I know what I was like before this and I know what I was like after that, and take those factors and try and sort it out to see what good and what bad weighed against each other with it, and what is best for yourself now. So that's the thing with the Adderall story. Now, is it good to get these things off my chest? I think so. I think so. You know, it's it's like I don't want to sit and argue about Adderall being good or bad with Ren when he's doing these shows after I've been off of that drug for 15 years. So, you know, it's anything that makes you way too focused where you can't pull yourself away from it, and you're losing time, and things are getting so detailed that it's taking you forever, is, I don't think, really a good thing. It's not for me. Now I do now that I've sort of have developed some of that in myself when I get into some activities, but I can still pull myself away from it. But it's just, you know, figuring out what feels like you should be doing. I don't know. But that is that story of Adderall. It goes a long ways to think about who was with you when you got hurt, and to divvy out whether or not you were loved. Because I go through the feeling every day where I think I am unlovable by other people, and I am like an outcast or something, where people just don't like me and I have to live with it. And I even have those feelings about Rin whenever I try to wonder if he's an actor or if he really cares. And I go through those feelings thinking about my parents. How could they actually even care about me if they couldn't recognize how much I was suffering? Why didn't they ever say anything? I mean, straightforwardly and directly, like a heart to heart kind of way. Why did it always feel so cold to me? I have to really think about that all of the time. And I still wonder if they've decided to value sobriety, and if they have any grudges towards me. It hurts my feelings if I decide to call them or something, and my dad brings up the fact that I probably want money, and that is really not how I feel. I always want to work soothe things out. I just am slowly feeling like I have to give up on that, trying to fix that relationship, and trying to figure out, like, maybe asking the world by demonstrating or showing what it is that I'm capable of doing and how I am functioning truthfully, not trying to conceal any of my weaknesses. If there is an opportunity for me to be able to take care of myself financially, because I don't want to be you know a grudge for somebody else. You know, I don't want to be somebody's bitter bitterness. And that's what I think of myself as when it comes to my parents. They have a grudge towards me or something that I don't understand, because I get this feeling of too many secrets having been withheld from me, and too much me trying to have to sort out what I think they think, because they don't won't tell me what they actually do think. And even if and that's just, it's not that I don't care. It's that I feel sad about it. I feel sad about it. I feel sad thinking about how any of those things could have happened, or how those things even exist in the world. Because I probably would not have ever needed to had the extra help with medicine if I had never been exposed to drugs and alcohol. I mean, yeah, drugs and alcohol to begin with. And you can say, take responsibility for your choices. Well, I already have, but I did not know what I know before I knew it. But I still think those things should be gotten rid of on the earth, especially for somebody who is a child and their brain is not developed enough to make good decisions. You don't give that to a child. There has to be adults responsible enough to recognize that stuff should not be out there. And I mean, you don't give that to an adult either, but a child does not have a fully formed brain. Okay? Raping children, or whatever else, or tricking children to drink alcohol, or tempt children into drinking alcohol, those are not good things to do. And you can't look back at that situation and be like, I'm glad that happened because I'm such a strong person today. I fucking have to try really hard to get myself together daily. And of course, I build up strength in myself in comparison to how I used to be. That is all it is, in comparison to how I used to be. And I still feel worthless and shitty about myself, and have to pep talk myself every single day so that I am continuing to value life without thinking that I'm going to, be alone forever without anybody that I truly am able to connect with.